Hello again from my front porch. I'm not just sitting out here monkeying around, although it may look like it. I am out here talking Monkees. Specifically, I got this in the mail recently, the live album, the Monkees' first official live album, and I was pleased to get to be up in Minneapolis, well, outside of Minneapolis, at a resort where the Mike and Micky show was performed, and I got to see this, and I know this album is a very faithful recreation, audio-wise, of what that event was like. But one of the people who is instrumental in this event is Micky's sister, Coco Dolenz. Instrumental not just because she is an incredible background singer and has been for many years, and so was involved with the Monkees from almost the initial early stages, but because she even took the photo that's on the cover of the album. And so she's a big part of this. And I had the opportunity to visit with her in a very lengthy conversation, which I've now divided up to make it a little more bite-sized for the viewer. And so I hope you will join me now in this second installment of my conversations with Coco as we look at Coco, more of the Monkees. She's going to take us a little more in depth behind the scenes. Enjoy.
Then the 69, the Monkees, 69, 70, the Monkees sort of came to a conclusion. Peter left,
Right.
and then Mike left, and then
Right.
Micky and Davey did one more album, and then they were done. The show had went off the air, the interest waned. They did They did Head as a movie, then Peter left, or no, then they did 33 and the Third Monkey TV special, then Peter left.
Yeah.
And then they did the famous tour in '69 with Sam and the Good Timers, where
Yes.
where they turned all their songs into rhythm and blues songs.
Take a
And those,
last train to Clarksville, and I'll meet you in the station. Nobody realizes that song was a war protest song. Did you know that?
yeah, well, that always has. Well, I mean, I didn't for a long time, but then as you really listen to
Yes.
words, you understand what it's saying. But what is interesting is, and there are a number of songs, not just monkey songs, but just number of songs that
hmm
people enjoy. They're either upbeat or they think they're romantic and they dance to them when in fact they're very sad, heartbreaking songs. And
Yeah.
I see it at bars all the time where there's a live band playing and they'll start playing some slow song and couples get up or dancing and it's a breakup song. It's a
Yeah. Right.
somebody did me wrong song, and then I'm like, okay, do you know what you're dancing to here, people? Do you?
I
Uh,
know. I know.
but yeah, Last Train to Clarksville. People are like, hey, it's that peppy little take the last train to Clarksville, and yay, it is, and it's about a soldier
And
going
I
off to
don't
war.
know if I'm ever coming
Yeah,
home.
yeah, a
I mean,
soldier
come
doesn't.
on.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
Um,
I know. Interesting. It's amazing
so
how many kids, people, I should say now, not kids, but people have commented to me over the last 50 years when they hear these songs that were written and the guys did, that they were such an amazing part of their lives, like Take a Giant Step Outside Your Mind, right?
it's a
Brilliant
good
song.
song.
I love doing that. Oh, I love doing that song. And it touched people at that time period, of kids wanting to express themselves and be real and all this. And those songs gave them license to do that, and they never thought about the fact there were kids, of course, that really thought the guys lived together in Malibu. And Mickey's always said, how would four not working musicians, because the
Yeah,
whole premise was they never got jobs, right?
yeah,
They
they're always struggling to get ahead.
And that was the whole premise of the
Yeah,
show. And they're living in Malibu. I
on the
mean, really?
beach.
On the beach? Yeah,
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, well, and along that line, I did appreciate some of the meta humor that was built in when they did their back in the '90s. They did their reunion episode that was like
Yeah.
episode 792 or whatever they called it, but it was that they treated it
Yeah.
as if the show had never gone off the air, that the show had been
Yes.
going on the whole time. But they wrote in there some dialogue like that where I think Davey was trying to come up with a plot for that episode,
Yeah.
and his plot had something to do with finding buried treasure to pay the rent or something, and Mike says, rent? We probably own the house by now.
Exactly. Well, there's that fine line between reality and pretend,
Yeah,
and
and that's
I
that's
don't,
one thing
you
that's one
know.
thing that's always intrigued me about what happened with, again,
Hmm.
I said I didn't want to make our whole discussion about the Monkees, but this is an
Okay.
interesting detail about it, is I'm fascinated by the fact that I they create this show to make a fictional band, and they
Hmm.
create these fictional characters, and then they hire these
Right.
four guys to do it. Two that are mostly musicians, and two that are actors that also are musical,
Right.
and they bring them together to make this group. But those four guys don't play a character with another name. They play a
Yeah.
character with their
Yeah.
own name. And
That was
so,
wrong.
yeah, well, and so
That
I
was
think
wrong.
I
Yeah.
think that's where the blurring really started
Yeah.
to happen, because
Yeah.
then people are watching Micky Dolenz on TV playing Micky Dolenz, and
Yeah.
on TV. Now, granted, I'm sure there's a lot of overlap, but still, on TV, Mickey is playing Micky Dolenz of the Monkees. When he's
Yeah.
not on
I
camera, he's Micky Dolenz
yeah.
himself. So,
Yeah. I think he's always said, and I'm not, letting anything out of the bag. He has always said in any interview I've ever heard that that was wrong. They should have never used their own names because it was too freaking
mhm,
confusing.
mhm,
It should be, um, in fact, when we were touring a couple years ago, um, I remember it was either Mike or I think it was when we were with Peter that one year with Peter and Mike and Mickey. And as they introduced each other at the beginning of the thing, they go, and playing the part of Micky Dolenz tonight is George Michael Dolenz. And playing the part of Peter Tork is Halston Peter Thorkelson or
yeah,
whatever. Just alluding to that,
yeah,
because
yeah.
it did. I think it confused everyone, you know.
Well, and I think that contributed a great deal to that massive, not just blurring of the line between fantasy and reality, but almost obliterating it. Um,
Yeah.
and 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 that's
Yeah.
what made those four guys the Monkees forever, is because
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
so many people just assumed that really was them.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
now,
And that was Bob and Bert, the producers of the show that, that's what they wanted to do. In fact, I just saw the original script, the original draft of the very first show, the pilot actually, because Mickey still has it, and it said Monkeys and it was spelled Monkeys.
mhm,
So it was even before all of that, came down. It was, the idea of trying to, kind of, it was like the Beatles based basically, four guys, but they were real and these guys were put together. And Davey was a songster. He was a Broadway guy. Mike's country western. Peter
yep,
knows every, folk song that ever lived. And Mickey was
yeah,
singing Johnny Be Good.
yeah, yeah.
So, they
Mickey
had
and the
the
One
talent,
Nighters.
but oh yeah, but there's one night.
Yeah.
It's true. True. And
So,
it's kind of sad because all of them were so talented in their own
oh
right
yeah.
and their own thing, So
Well, that is. I mean, honestly, for me personally, I told you before we started chatting
mm,
I'm actually, obviously I was introduced to the Monkees through their TV show. That's the way most people are introduced to
sure,
them. Um, but
sure.
I actually I like their music. I really enjoy listening to the music. And
The
the
song.
TV show is fun. TV show is fun to watch, but I'm gonna have some really strong Monkees fans going to get upset when I say this, but I can only watch so many episodes, and then I have to
Ah,
stop because it's just a little too
yeah.
much.
Little- But what's interesting too is like again, since I've been on tour with them forever now, people will come up to me and tears in their eyes, Paul,
Hmm.
saying how much the show, and mostly girls, I would say, that were young and
Yeah.
stuff, they used it as an escape from their family life, which was horrible. Either,
Oh.
I don't even want to get into all the stories, but
Mhm.
it was like, can't wait to get home and immerse myself in this silly, crazy, they're my
Mhm.
brothers, they're the family I never had. That was huge. I can't tell you how many people have said
Mhm.
that they used it as that, they were my friends, they were my guys. I just got to be able to shut out everything else, all the
Yeah.
abuse and the this and the that, and just for that 30 minutes, just joy,
Well, and
and
I've heard Mickey share the stories many times where he's talked about how people would say that they would justify something as basic as being able to grow their hair longer because well the
yeah.
monkeys have long hair and they're not doing drugs and getting arrested and so why can't I do that too
They were,
and yeah.
well, that's the whole thing. It was like the zeitgeist of the moment. That's why it was so popular because here it was like, what, 66? You got
Hmm.
four guys with long hair living on their own, no
Hmm.
adults in charge of them, having a great time, being funny, enjoying themselves. And
Hmm.
it was a, uh, what's the word? It gave people permission to be who they
Oh,
were.
yeah.
It's like, well,
That's very interesting. Yeah.
and it's like we're not long haired, druggy kind of da da da. We're just having a good time, and we're coming to your town kind of thing. So it
Hmm.
did. It started that whole flavor of we can have long hair, but we can still be us and not be druggists, drugged out and
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
interesting. It's an interesting.
and I also, I mean, I do think it's unfortunate that there are a lot of people that don't appreciate the talent that they all brought to the table, and that Mickey and Mike still bring to the table to this day.
Absolutely.
I think there are people who are dismissive because they were fabricated for TV,
Right.
because the rumors that they had no musical talent because they didn't play their own
Yeah.
instruments, and
They weren't
some even
allowed to.
alleged that they didn't even sing and all this kind of stuff. There are
It's
all those
bullshit.
rumors that were going around and stuff.
I
But
know.
now here we are, 50 some years later,
Yeah.
and granted, we've lost two members of the group, but the two are still remaining. I mean, they sound as good as ever. I can testify to that.
Have
I
you heard the
saw them
CD?
do it. Just
Have you heard the CD or did you order it?
I've got it right here. Look at there, right
Oh
there.
my
I got
God.
the CD right here, and in
Did you
fact,
see who took the Did you see who took the photo cover? The cover
I did
photo?
not. Did you? Is that
Have
you?
you,
Did you take that?
I took that picture.
I did not
I
read that part.
Well,
Cool.
it's on the inside. I know a lot of
I
people
see
keep
that.
those things. They never open them. Yeah,
I see
I just would
front cover
ever so
photo, Coco
often
Dolenz.
I would have my phone on stage. There you go. Da 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 da. I'd have my phone on stage, and usually when we were holding up, they were holding up their own phones to do like this with the lights for
Oh
Daydream
yeah, yeah,
Believer.
yeah.
And I just ever so often would have it there so I could take a picture. Well, I had my phone all the time, so I could do that light thing. And then ever so often it was like, I'll just take a snapshot because I'll try to capture the feeling of the whole thing. And I posted it somewhere and it ended up on the cover. So there you go.
Good shot. Very
Cool.
good shot. But
Yeah.
and it was an extremely good show. I have my VIP badge where I paid
Oh,
a
nice.
little extra money to get
Yeah.
access to that where you got to hear the sound check and everything. And I tell you,
Yeah.
I got to say, I got to give kudos to Mickey. He's always a funny guy. But I love his deadpan humor almost more than his slapstick humor. Um, and and I remember, and don't ruin it for me. He probably started every one of them this way. I felt it was special just for us, but still. But I remember he came out. It was at Mystic Lake Casino in Minnesota,
Yeah.
and he came out for the sound check, and he comes out and like he's doing this big elaborate introduction thing, where he comes out
Hmm.
and he goes, all right, well, this. Welcome. Thank you for being here for this, and this is the part where we do what is called the sound check. And it's called the sound check because this is when we check the sound.
Check this
He
out.
turns and he walks away. Walks back.
He
I
did.
laughed. I thought that was the funniest thing ever.
Well, he didn't do it that way all the time, I must say, because he's also, but when he finds a good line, he'll use it,
No, of
But
course.
no,
Why not?
it pretty much was that. It's like, well, we're checking the sounds, like, duh,
Yeah.
and does anybody know what a sound check is, and that's true. I mean, that's basically what we would do is make sure everybody could hear each other and, he'd explain the whole thing about the sound we could hear.
So there you are. That is my conversation with Coco. Coco, the More of the Monkees episode, our second installment. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you go and check out the Monkees Live, their first ever live album from the Mike and Micky Show, and that you tune in for the other episodes in the series of my conversations with Coco. And with that, I'll see y'all next time from my front porch.